Xenoblade, the game series where you star as a bunch of teenagers and go to fight God. Anyway, hey everyone, WHYYYYYY's here and welcome to my review of the Eunie Figma figure from Xenoblade Chronicles 3. This thing is awesome, and as a Figma figure, is a very hyper-accurate representation of her in-game form. Obviously, she's also very expensive, let's see if this figure holds up to scrutiny. I know this review has been taking a little while to come out. I did do an unboxing like a month ago, 2 months ago or something. Anyway, if you don't know, Eunie comes from the video game Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and she is one of the main party members. She is very sassy, very funny, and has the very iconic voice clip.
Hear that, Noah? Lance wants something a bit meatier.
Absolute perfection. Now, she does come with a box, and that box has some false advertising on it. The plug hole for her stand on the box is painted black, while on the actual figure, it's flesh-toned. This makes it look really weird, and I'm thinking of pen lining or sharpening it to make it better. Speaking of the box, it's really cool. It is, of course, your basic flat Figma box, but it has a very nice amount of figure photography on the back, very well laid out, pretty cool. You really can see everything the figure can do, which honestly isn't that much. You have your legalese, your Max Factory logo, your picture of her kneeling on the side. Of course, the front has a big clear window for you to see the figure, and you can even see the box art in the back looking really nice and snazzy. There's a picture of her on the bottom and the very same picture on the top. It's also pretty large, even for a Figma box, kind of feeling like a DX, despite not really having enough accessories to really qualify in my opinion. However, unlike the flat box, Eunie is very much
round.
That is because Figma put in a ton of sculpting and detail to make her look awesome. She's the spitting image of her in-game model and art just brought to life, and that is amazing. As much as I wish Figma would release more figures, they always knock it out of the park visually. Speaking of which, she has a ton of really nice detail. The green for her sweater/jacket is really nicely done, and you can see her jacket's pull strings looking very nice and green. She also has her hoodie, and her head wings actually have some shading on them, which is super rare for Figma. They could have a little bit more on the front though, but they look really nice on the back. Her head sculpt does work and does move out the back, and it doesn't look too awkward. Obviously, she also has some sculpting on the back, which looks really nice. And continuing with her sweater and jacket, of course she has balance issues, but she has individually done little frills at the bottom, though I do think it looks kind of weird how they segmented it. It's supposed to be one jacket, not underlay and a crop jacket. Otherwise, her sculpting on her arms have very nice wrinkles. She has a very defined midriff. That being said, even with her really nice detail and the life mark, because in Xenoblade, these guys only live till they're 10. Because of the story, which I'm not going to spoil, but yeah, sorry Spider-Man, she's basically a minor. Back to her sculpt, and oh my goodness, that sculpt is borderline hideous and ruins the back of the figure. Look at how Marvel Legends does it for that same sort of crunch system. I mean, it's just no comparison. When Marvel Legends is doing a better sculpt work than you, then yeah, Figma, keep up. Also, Jada Toys does it the best with the segmented ball joint system. Come on, that is perfectly smooth. Figma, please do ball joints. I know you can do it. Anyway, she has some very nice sculpting and paint work on her belt, very reminiscent of Shulk's DLC outfit from Xenoblade Run Definitive Edition, and that continues mostly around the back. Of course, she has her little side pouch as well, and the kind of light gray kind of going around her legs and that kind of bodysuit she's wearing. It gives me Tron vibes, which I do like a lot. The sculpting on her legs is super nice, giving her a very natural bend once you start posing her legs. And her shoes, look at those kicks, they look pretty darn sweet. However, they do have some restricted articulation, unfortunately. That hinge is just kinda, it makes balancing her a lot more difficult. Speaking of posing, she has a ball joint at the head, a hinge joint going up that far and side to side. Of course, that hair moves out of the way. She has ball joints at her little wings, which are super nice. And she has a shoulder ball joint, as well as a ball joint where her arm connects, which allows her to move her arms up that far and do a really awesome T-pose. She also has a little bicep swivel at the top and a main bicep swivel down here. Really nice little bit of range, and of course a single jointed elbow. Rounding off the arm, and she has a swivel hinge double peg sort of system, very import styled. And of course her arm can move around that far, full 360, very nice range. She has a dumbbell joint at the upper torso, giving her a nice bit of range there, and a crunch forward that far and back that far for her midsection. Combined, that gives her forward that far and back that far. Honestly, more forward than back. That's unique for a lot of figures. She can go side to side with that dumbbell joint, and of course a full 360, fully breaking her spine. Anyway, she also has a little bit of movement in her belt. It's on like a little ball joint, and then the rest are on hinges. It's kind of weird, but it does work. Again, weird, strange, but it works. It feels weird, but it works. Anyway, she has a nice split, not quite Spider-Man level, but, you know, it's not awful. And she can move her legs forward and back that far, which is super nice, but it is a little bit obstructed by the kind of hard plastic for her lower torso. She also has a very nice double jointed knee that looks very good and is sculpted quite well. Swivel at the ankle and then up and down just a little bit, which is honestly very disappointing. Even with that super nice toe joint, you just can't get her feet into dynamic poses, which really sucks. It also means her balancing is a lot trickier. She does have a pivot, which is very slight, but her feet articulation is pretty disappointing overall. But the rest of her articulation, even with that very kind of restricted thigh swivel but unrestricted on her right leg, she does have really good and solid articulation and has better feeling joints than the Figma Eunie, which had a lot of stuck and tight and falling off joints, and yeah. And she has a good spread of accessories, but nothing amazing. It feels like the bare minimum. You have your articulated Figma stand. Obviously, every single Figma comes with one of these, and you will probably have a ton of them once you collect more than one Figma figure, but it's super nice to have, very nicely articulated. And you have your hand tree, which it contains all of her hands. Super nice to have that for storage. You have her very nicely detailed little journal book, and it has even little bits of stitching, and it's 3D, it's not like completely flat, and you even have the paper on the side, very well painted. I'm a big fan. And now you have her gun ether staff, which you can swap parts around. Now, this does have a few issues. She does come with an instruction booklet, which basically tells you everything to do with the figure. It's the same on each side. However, it says you can replace that sort of top part, swap it out to the other side of the staff, and swap out the little blue effect pieces to make them flip up and have a more dynamic look. However, I've heated this thing up. I've tried everything, used a lot of force, but be really careful. It is it's not flexible and can break easily, despite it being able to relatively easily take the other side off. Taking off that big end piece is nigh impossible. Yes, I heated it up. I've tried everything. Even with a ton of force, it does not want to come apart. I'm afraid that the paint has just fully solidified and glued these pieces in. I can feel a slight bit of movement, but I don't want to try harder and potentially break this very fragile weapon on a very pricey figure. Otherwise, the detail looks awesome. The blue lights are very well painted, the silver is shiny, and the gunmetal is super shiny, very Mechonis vibes from Xenoblade 1. And moving down the hilt, and yeah, the same level of high quality detail continues down the weapon the entire way through each piece, and it is just a really nice piece. Of course, I did forget the little blip for the stand, the little stand extender. Of course, that can swivel around, but let's move on to her bag. Yes, as a Figma figure, she comes with a bag to store all of her accessories. Very nice. She comes with a neutral face, a kind of bored side-eye face for looking down at her enemies. And while I am showing it without the hair, she has an angry face, but the second you put the hair on, it turns from angry to, like, worried, or the eyebrows are blocked and the expression just doesn't read that well, which is kind of unfortunate, but it is supposed to be an angry battle face. And then, of course, you have the extra wrist peg, which put it in the bag immediately because you will drop and lose it. She has fisty hands and open palm hands, very nice, and mismatched holding hands, she has a whole bunch of mismatched stuff, mismatched other set of holding hands, and a trigger finger, and a holding hand for her book, which is super nice and detailed, as I said before, and it fits right in nice and snug. She, of course, can put her gun staff, ether staff, in the trigger finger, but it is very loose, and getting her staff on her hands is super tricky. You have to apply a lot of force. I really wish Figma would go to like slightly flexible hands, because this inflexible plastic needs to flex for her to put her weapons on, and it feels super janky, like you're gonna break it the entire time you do it, because you just need so much force and you need to line it up all perfectly, and it's just a pain to do. It's really unfortunate. I prefer how they did it with Mio. Yes, you can stick it on, but it's just Figma hands really need a lot of work. Obviously, once you actually have it on her hand, it looks really nice, and depending on the pose, holds super nicely. Again, depending on the pose, if that thing gets knocked out of alignment, it will start flopping around like a floppy disk. You do know what a floppy disk is, right? Speaking of flopping, and once you get her ball joint into a certain position, it just kind of flops, which is unfortunate. I'll have to tighten that up a bit with some Kowkis joint fix. Super highly recommend it. You can find it on Amazon. And she has her other hand for holding it, and it just doesn't work. It just flops around in the hand, but it's supposed to be for nice and natural holding poses. And she does have another hand you can put it on the back, and it just feels kind of weird and floppy. She does have a good spread of accessories, but I just wish she came with something else, something more, but I'm not sure what. Otherwise, they could have just cut the price down, because now it's over $100, what the heck? But you can swap her head with Mio to kind of have that alternate outfit that you do in the game, because you can swap all their outfits and classes. Really nice that you can do it, but it does feel a little off. The pegs aren't the same exact size. Speaking of sizes, size comparison time, we have Mafex Spider-Man and Q Ranger Red, and of course we have Jada Toys Chun-Li and the YOLO Park Eva Unit 0. Finally, we have Figma Mio and Figma Link from Tears of the Kingdom. She is pretty much in line with most Figma figures, and is super nice. Overall, though, I am a little disappointed with this figure. She is really well detailed, has a lot of great articulation, but once you get into those tiny little specifics like moving around the parts on the staff, and how she holds the staff, and the fact that she doesn't really come with much else, her face prints being kinda limited in use, it feels not worth it. However, if you're a Xenoblade fan, this is a must-buy, and I highly recommend you get her. So thank you guys for watching. I do have a whole bunch of affiliate links in the description below, so if you want to support the channel, please click on those. Have a great rest of your day. She is still on sale at Good & Pile Company, so good luck at getting her if you want her. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye, and please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I need the engagement!